My name is Cindy. I majored in biology and I have $35,000 in student
I have a
loans.
BA in film and television producing, and I have a debt of $65,000.
And my debt is about $33,000.
And about $130,000.
We'll owe $80,000.
And as of today, I have $160,000 in debt.
$50,000 in debt.
Just saying this is terrifying, especially to a camera, because it makes it so much more real.
My grandfather was in World War II. He was in the Big Red One, which stormed the beaches of Normandy. My dad was a Green Beret in the 5th Special Forces in Vietnam. And what my dad has always told me is that he didn't want me to have to do that. And he said, you have to work hard and you gotta go to school because I didn't get to go and I want that for you. And I said, okay. I also want that for me, and I thank you for that.
My parents are both college professors, so it was really important for them that I go to college. There was never any question about where I would be going or that I would be going, and so they decided to do whatever it took to make sure that I had a college education.
My dad being very blue collar, my mom not really getting an education outside of some schooling, some high school. You know, they definitely wanted to give us a little bit more than what they were able to achieve in their lives.
If I hadn't taken out student loans, I wouldn't have gone to college. So I just took them because otherwise it would have been going to college part-time or starting out at a community college.
When I took it out, I think my goal in mind was just graduate, use that money and graduate. I wasn't thinking about paying it back.
I had no idea what a student loan was when I went to college. My dad just told me we're splitting it. I'm like, okay. And you just have no concept, like when you're younger, what anything costs.
When I was 18 and deciding, yes, that I was going to do this, I kind of did it as a leap of faith. I was like, you know, it's going to work out. This is a huge amount of money. I can't even really fathom how much money this is. So yeah, I'll do it for my education, and it's definitely a stress every day.
I wasn't fully aware of how long that was going to take.
I'm not exactly sure how much I have to pay each month.
I just learned what my debt was.
Honestly, I don't know any of this terminology like credit, defaulting on your loans. It means nothing to me.
I do know that the interest rate was something like, I think 8%? 0.8% maybe? I don't know.
Like, I knew it, and yet at the same time, it didn't really, I didn't process it. I didn't think to myself, oh, hey, I'm gonna be in debt for the next 10 years of my life. This is great.
I just assumed that I was like, well, I'm sure I don't have that much student loan, and really every year in September and January, I just signed whatever came my way, not really looking at it, just trusting that I was being taken care of.
I really wish I knew more before I went in and got all this debt. My mother put herself through school while raising 2 boys on her own, and she is 46 years old, and she is still paying off her loans.
Any resources that I found online weren't really all that helpful. They were a little vague, and they essentially just said, you're gonna have to pay these loans back eventually with interest.
If you go to websites that teach you about debt, they're not only convoluted and condescending, but they often will ask you if you want more loans.
In hindsight, it would have been great to have a better resource in my hometown or at my school to prepare me for what I'd be in for. Not just with what college would be like, but what after college would be like.
And then I was rudely awakened after I had graduated and started getting letters, saying, you owe $35,000 and we need it by this date. If you can pay it in full, that would be great. I was like, really? Who can pay this in full?
Well, I have a $500 monthly payment that I have to make on all of my loans every month. And so, you know, you factor in rent and utilities and everything, and like I usually have about $100 extra a month for myself.
I now owe in interest every single month about $900 in debt. Which means if I want to make any sort of headway between now and 2052, when I'm scheduled to pay it off, that I have to pay at least $1,200 a month, every month.
I think that when I was 17 and applying to schools, if someone had told me that I'd have to pay $450 a month, I wouldn't think it was that much money. But now after like kind of living on my own off campus and like paying for a lot of my own bills and stuff, like I understand that that is a lot of money, especially given that the economy is so bad, and I'm like nervous about finding a job that will pay enough for me to pay my loans, but also like for me to like stay alive and pay rent and have food and stuff.
I couldn't imagine going into the workforce today with the amount of debt that so many people own. Me, even with no debt, I feel like it's going to be a tough road ahead of me.
I graduated undergrad with like $40,000 of debt, and I studied German. It's not like nobody needs someone who speaks German, and so I had a really hard time figuring out how I was going to pay my loans.
Oh, well, first I'm going to write a screenplay, and then I'm going to win a lot of Oscars. And then I'm going to have so much money that my debt doesn't matter anymore.
I would like to do internships with, you know, people that I really like and jobs and businesses that I would really like to work with, but I'm not sure I am going to be able to do that.
In fact, probably with my English degree, I'm going to apprentice to become a butcher, which has nothing to do with Hemingway or Joyce or whatever.
I wish money had not gotten in the way of me continuing my education. I elected not to continue graduate studies after a year because I didn't feel comfortable incurring $40,000 to $50,000 more in debt per year.
The job I have right now has nothing to do with what I studied, either in undergrad or graduate. It's merely because I have to pay this off and because I was told that you need college.
I realize that it's not worth the money sometimes. It's not worth me, you know, spending the rest of my life paying off a debt that I probably can't really afford.
In my lifetime, the student loans will probably be one of the largest investments that I will make outside of whether or not I ever buy a house. And if I don't pay off my student loans, I'll probably never buy a house because my credit's gonna suck.
For the next 10 years, no matter what job I'm doing, I'm gonna have to put like money aside every month. And not for something useful like an apartment or a car. It's gonna be to pay off my debt.
I would say if you can go to a state college or a community college and get little or no loans and possibly transfer out of there, get scholarships, then just be open to that. I feel like I wasn't open enough to like community college and state college.
I would advise everyone who is applying for a loan to go to school now to make sure you ask as many questions as you can. Go and find out a how-to as to how to get loans for school. Hit the internet. Make sure you ask questions about interest rates. That is very, very important.
Work while you're in school if you can, and that way you can kind of start, you know, saving, putting things aside, and it just gives you a little bit more breathing room to figure out what it is that you want to do.
If you can, put yourself in a position to make interest payments while you're in school, so you can pay less later on. That's something I didn't do that I could have done.
Or maybe even doing something like taking a year off and working, which doesn't have to be before college, but can be maybe at some point during the college experience.
I am very happy that I went to school, and I'm very happy that my kids went to school, and even though I do have debt, I know it's something that school and education has made me very happy, and it has made my children happy.
Taking on the amount of debt I've had, that's actually, I think it's paid off for me a lot. I'm doing something that I love to do, I feel like I'm pretty successful.
In retrospect, I'm at a job that I could never have dreamed of being in if I didn't go to the school I went to.
I read books I wouldn't have been exposed to. You know, I got to learn about different cultures. It was very eye-opening.
My experience has been so great, and I wouldn't have learned what I did anywhere else. So I wouldn't take it back for the world. I'm in it now. It is what it is.
My name is Brianna. I'm majoring in environmentalism and art, and I don't want to major in debt.
My name is Ash Matani, and I majored in screenwriting, and I don't want to major in debt.
I majored in German and law, and I don't want to major in debt.
I majored in biology, and I don't want to major in debt.
I'm majoring in art history and Italian, and I don't want to major in debt.
Don't major in debt.